Hey guys, John Ojaka here. I'm talking really fast because I'm going to attempt to get an enormous amount of information out in a relatively short video. So what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to show you how to set up a Facebook ad campaign from scratch, from A to Z. Let you watch over my shoulder as we do it in real time. The whole setup process should only take hopefully under 10 minutes. And we're going to be using a relatively new strategy that a lot of people aren't familiar with. It's been extremely effective for me, for my clients, and the beauty of the strategy is it really doesn't matter where you're at skill level wise, whether you have any experience as an advertiser or you have a lot of experience. With a strategy like this, we're going to really let the numbers drive the campaign. As you'll see, we'll plug in a little bit of information. I'll give you some tips on how to do that. And then we're going to just analyze the results. And as you'll see in my campaigns, they start off here, and with a little bit of tweaking, those prices come way down. And that's kind of part of the process. So I think you're going to learn a lot. Now, I'm doing this as part of the build up to a new program that is called Music Ads Workshop 3.0. So it's the third edition of the Music Ads Workshop. It's an all new course, all new strategies. Very excited to share it with you guys. Now, in the course, we go over a ton of different Facebook ad strategies. You can use Facebook in a whole lot of ways, and there are many little nuances to really master. But today, what we're going to be focused on is a strategy that involves driving cold traffic to a landing page. We often call these squeeze pages. So you can give away some free music in exchange for an email address, build up that email list, because the email list is the most important asset you're ever going to have as an independent musician, so that you can eventually monetize that relationship with your mailing list through album sales and live shows and really anything that you want. So that's what we're going to be doing. As I say, I'm doing this as part of the build-up to the release of Music Ads Workshop, because understandably, anytime somebody like myself comes out with a new program, people wonder, like, who the hell is this guy? Why should I be listening? You know, what is he all about? So I wanted to give you a taste, but you know, there's no tricks here. This isn't something where you're gonna learn a little bit, but if you want to learn the rest, you got to buy the course. Nothing like that. This is a complete strategy. Whether or not you sign up for the Music Ads Workshop, you can be applying this in minutes, and if all goes to plan, you can be growing that mailing list, getting your first subscribers in just a few minutes potentially. So again, I wanted to teach one complete lesson that I thought as many people as possible could really benefit from, and so we've chosen this strategy. Now, as I say, we're going to be driving cold traffic to a landing page, a music marketing manifesto style landing page. This assumes you've already got a landing page in place. If you don't, they're very easy to set up, and you'll see some examples once we cut on over to my browser and get started. So we're going to be using an example artist for these tutorials, for this lesson. It's a band called Elm Treason. They're a client of mine, been doing some work for them. Just kind of wanted to thank you guys. Big thank you to Elm Treason for letting us use you as our guinea pigs, and letting me share this information with all the folks here at Music Marketing Manifesto and Music Ads Workshop. So thank you guys. We're gonna dive in now. Let's head on over to my browser and get started building our Facebook ad campaign. All right, here we go. Again, a very standard Music Marketing Manifesto style squeeze page. We've done a few customizations here to enhance their brand. Now, these guys are an East Coast acoustic rock band. That's more or less their USP, their unique selling proposition, their hook, the thing that we are ultimately trying to connect with their audience. So the biggest thing we need to do before we even really get started is to write copy that will appeal to our target audience. So again, there's a lot more that goes into this. We're going to try to make this really, really simple for you folks. All I want you to do for now is use a little bit of common sense. Who is likely to like the music that you make? And then what statements do you need to make to appeal to those people? So in this case, we're going after people who like, again, East Coast acoustic rock. These guys are very sort of likable, approachable. They're sort of an everyman's band in the sense that artists like maybe Bruce Springsteen or Tom Petty are an everyman's band. So with our ad copy, we're trying to make a simple 1 or 2 sentence, bold claim or promise about the the experience that your music ultimately delivers. It's not about the download. It's not about getting a free track. It's not about how you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's making a statement that will connect with your audience based on their preconceived passions and interests. Now, again, I've created entire courses on really understanding this stuff, but I want to give you just a simple primer so that you can take action now and get a taste for how easy this stuff can ultimately be, and hopefully how effective it can ultimately be. So if you're completely lost, if you're not sure how do I do this? I have no idea. I'm not a writer. I don't know what to do. Now, one trick, this is just one of many copywriting tricks, but one thing you can do is find reviews of similar artists, because those reviews tend to be written by journalists who cover a specific genre. That means they understand the genre, they understand the readers, they understand the listeners, and they're good writers, so they can shortcut some of the process for us. Now, you can't just go out and steal stuff. That wouldn't be cool, but you can borrow a little bit. You can find inspiration in some of the specific language that is out there. And I'm not talking about accolades. I'm talking about descriptive terms that might help relate the experience that your music ultimately offers. So let's do that really quickly here so I can show you an example, and then you need to go and create a few ad text options on your own so that you can follow the steps in the next section of this video. So I'll show you what I mean. If you come over here to Google and you type in Bruce Springsteen review, Pitchfork, I find I have a lot of luck with Pitchfork. We come over here, we click on, in this case, the first thing that comes up. We scroll down. A lot of these are live albums. I want to find an actual album. So we've got Nebraska there, and we just scan it. Now, in the interest of speed, I've already done this, and I found a sentence that I kind of like right here. So, but the signals that come through on Nebraska crackle with electricity. Sometimes it's just a hum, and sometimes it seems like a circuit is going to explode. So some nice romantic Americana imagery that I thought I could borrow or use as inspiration to create some ad copy for Elm Treason. Now, I didn't actually do this in my ads. I'm just doing it as an example to show you guys who are completely lost with ad copy how easy it can be if you're just stumped and you're short on inspiration of your own. Now, if we look at this headline here, I rewrote that to apply to Elm Treason, and I highlighted the parts that were borrowed. So you can see, it's about 50-50 there. So Elm Treason's latest album crackles with electricity. Some songs are just a hum, and sometimes it seems like the speakers are going to explode. So it's not a direct rip, but I've certainly borrowed a lot of language. The more original you are, the better. Again, this is just the first thing that I pulled up that I thought could work. But the point being, by just borrowing a little bit of inspiration, I think that we've really captured a nice sentence that may very well serve to entice potential fans to our band Elm Treason, because we're going to target very similar people to Bruce Springsteen fans. So now what I want you to do is take a pass at creating your own ad copy before we hit start on our timer and really get started. What you're going to need at least 5 images, all cropped to 1200 pixels by 628 pixels. You're going to need 5 sentences like the one we just started, 5 ad text copy sections like the one we just discussed. You're going to need 5 ad titles. You don't need to overthink these. You can simply use your band name and then something like -free download. We're just making a statement about the offer. So I've got Elm Treason free download, Elm Treason free music, new music from Elm Treason. Then I tried describing the genre, East Coast acoustic rock, and then I went for a weird one, boom, 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 because that was a reference made on the landing page. The link description, I use what is just called a Wikipedia approach, just a brief summary like Wikipedia might make about an artist that summarizes who you are so people know what it is they're clicking over to. An example being, hailing from Staten Island, New York, Elm Treason is the musical union of Andy Roman and Bobby Steele. Not overthinking it, just getting real and describing who the band is. And you want at least 2 link descriptions. 3 is better, no more than 5. And then, of course, you need your landing page. So once you have all those things together, it's really pretty simple using a relatively new feature called Dynamic Creative. Let's pop on over to my Ads Manager. All right, here we are. Once again, we're looking at Elm Treason's campaigns. And again, a big thanks to you guys for letting me use this for this tutorial. Very helpful. Thank you. Now, before we go too deep into this, I really want to stress there is a lot more to know about Facebook advertising, but it's my goal to teach you a completely actionable strategy, something that you can get started with within a few minutes. And so I'm going to be just really brushing through this, showing you what I do more than explaining why I do it, so that you can get started. You may need to sort of hit pause and rewind a few times, but follow the steps and you'll be on your way. So before we start creating our ad, we first need to define a conversion. We need to create something called a custom conversion goal, because in this example, we're trying to get leads. We're trying to get subscribers. Facebook doesn't know who these leads are. We need to define them. We need to tell Facebook. So we come up here to these three bars in the top left-hand corner, click on that, open up all tools, click on custom conversions in that middle column there. Now what we're going to do is click create custom conversion. We're going to leave all URL traffic as is. From this drop down, click equals. We're going to type in the URL of our thank you page. So in this case, I'm going to put in a fictitious one for privacy reasons. I'll just type in, I don't know, all done. And we're going to name this Elm Treason Sub Test, just so I know it's a test. Then we're going to select a category, which will be lead. Lead just means subscriber. And we're going to come down here and click create, and we're all done. Now we click done. So Facebook's got that information there. You want to come to that thank you page and hit refresh a few times just to trigger it so it becomes active in your account. Now let's go back to our ads manager, click on all tools, and in this second column we click ads manager, or third column depending on where you start counting. Now what we want to do is create an initial test campaign. We're trying to get data. We're going to test many different variables, different audiences, see what works best, and then we'll refine things later. So you come here and click create to get started. So what we want to do is create an initial campaign to just get data. And then once we get that data, we can create a second campaign using all of that information and get us closer and closer to our goals. And this is part of the process. So let's hit start on our timer, on our stopwatch, and just see how long this takes. I really don't even know going into this, but let's see. Here we go. All right, so we click create. And if your goal is conversions, you should select conversions. If you are selecting conversions, you really need to be spending at least $10 a day. If your budget is less than $10, then go with traffic. We're going to name this campaign. I'll call it test campaign. And for this test, we're going to turn on budget optimization. I don't always do that. And in this example, I'm going to go with, I don't know, $15. So a little bit more than I recommended. I said a minimum of $10. 15 is better. 20 is even better. 30 is even better than that. But I know it can start to get expensive. So you spend what you can afford to invest in your career, because there is always risk when it comes to advertising and you can lose money. Now we come to these options. Stick with lowest cost, click continue. Ad set name. We're going to name our ad set based on targeting. So again, I want to go after Bruce Springsteen fans, but I want to go even a little more narrow than that. So maybe I'll try, I don't know, E Street Band. Just name it so I know what it is. And if you didn't have your conversion goal in here, this is where you would add it. I've already created an actual conversion goal for them, so I'm going to add it in there. Now we come down to dynamic creative. We're going to turn that on. Click continue. Now in audiences, we're leaving that alone. Location, just type in the country that makes the most sense. Don't overthink this or get too fancy. Think in primary major markets. If you're in the US, start with the US and Canada. If you're in the UK, stick with the UK. If you're in Australia, maybe go Australia and New Zealand. With the age, older tends to do better, but I still start pretty young because I want to cast a wide net initially. I know you're thinking, hey, but the kids, they're going to love my music. they're also a lot less likely to buy your music. So I go a bit older. You can start wherever you want. On this end, I go with 65 plus initially. Gender, I go with both initially. Language, leave it blank unless you're targeting people who speak a language that is not the primary language of that country. If that's the case, then enter that language. Otherwise, leave it alone. Before we enter our interests, we're going to untick expand interests. I never use that option. I don't find that it helps. So include, we're going to type in, let's see, E Street Band. There it is. So it's got 130,000 people. Now, as a general rule, we want to have about 10,000 people for every $1 of ad spend. So if we're spending 15,000, that's a bit small, and it's going to narrow down even more. Let's see what happens when we click it. It says just 80,000. So this is a bit low. I would ideally be looking for larger audiences, but I can live with this. You know, it's not a rule that is set in stone. But I wouldn't want to go much smaller than this, and the size of this audience has me concerned that it ultimately may not perform that well. Now, let's see, we come down to connections, leave it alone, don't save the audience. Placements, for now, we're going to go with automatic placements. Eventually, we'll change that. Conversions is what we want to optimize our ad delivery for. Schedule, leave it alone. We'll turn it off manually if we need to, and then go with 1-day click for the conversion window. Leave everything else as is and click continue. Now we're going to select our page. You can name the ad anything you want. I'm just leaving it alone. I would go with Elm Treason. For our first ad, go with images. They tend to do better more consistently than videos and slideshows, at least for most musicians. Images, we're going to upload at least 5 images. So I never really go too many more than that. In this example, I'll be using 6. We click on upload images. I've already got mine selected. I'm going to select all of them and open them. They'll take a few minutes to upload. While we're doing that, we're going to type in our URL. This is going to be the squeeze page URL. So I'm typing in free music. I just need to make sure I've got the right URL. I do. So we come down. Now we're going to add our ad text. Now remember, you created this in advance, as did I. So we just come on up here, select our ad copy. Again, I'll just give you a quick example. We're not going to read all of this, but Elm Treason are more than a band. They're a rock and roll brotherhood, here to remind you to never underestimate the power of the acoustic guitar. So we'll copy that. We'll paste it in here, and we'll click add. It opens up another option for us, so we come back to our cheat sheet, copy that, and enter it again. Now, I'll just enter the others really quick so you don't have to watch me do the repetitive part. All right, and there's our 5th one, and you can see we no longer have the option to add more. And as we're doing it, it's updating and rotating its display over here on the right. So now we need to do the same thing with our headline. We're going to add 5 headlines, and I've got my cheat sheet. We just scroll down a little. So again, no need to get too complicated here. It works really well, and more often than not, my winner is just the band name hyphen free download, but not always. We put it in here, click out of the window, and click add. And I'll skip ahead. All right, we've got our 5 headlines. Now we need to select 5 call to action buttons. So we're going to go with download, click add, learn more, listen now, subscribe, and sign up. Now we'll scroll down from there and enter our display link. I just clean it up, remove the HTTP, type in the homepage URL, and capitalize the first letter of each word in the artist's name. Newsfeed description, again, our Wikipedia sort of link descriptions. Copy that. Again, Elm Treason is a musical duo hailing from Staten Island, New York. Click add. Paste these in really quickly. And you can even leave one as blank if you want to try testing that. Now, I think we're done. Yep, scroll through. Nothing else to do other than make sure you've got the right pixel there, which almost every one of you will, and click confirm. All right, so making sure that the button on the campaign that you just created is ticked, we want to come over to the ad set level, And now we're going to duplicate this ad set. So click duplicate again without changing any of these options. Come down to our targeting. Everything else we leave the same. We just remove E Street Band. And now I want to go after maybe the Rolling Stones. So, Rolling Stones is probably going to be a little too large, too broad of an audience for just $15 a day. So I don't know, what else do we got? Some variation on that. Maybe this, like Wild Horses, the Rolling Stone. That's a little small. I'll try it anyway because I want it to align with my initial test that I actually did, which was a few weeks ago. So I'll stick with it, even though this audience is a little bit too small for this budget. I had a different budget in my initial campaign. We're going to leave automatic placement. We're leaving everything else and just clicking publish. Again, we're removing the old targeting and adding a new target audience. Then we'll close that. I forgot to change the name. You want to do that just so you know what is what. I'll type in Wild Horses. And then what I'll do is click duplicate again. Duplicate once more. Scroll down. Remove Wild Horses. And we're going to add Elvis Costello. 621. So this is a more appropriately sized audience. We got 270,000 people in it, so that's more than enough. We're going to just name this Elvis Costello and hit publish. Now I'm going to close that. I'm going to come back to my campaigns. I'm personally going to pause this because this was just a demo. Well, I need to wait for it to publish. There we go. I ran an actual duplicate campaign a few weeks ago, and we'll take a look at that momentarily. But you can see if we stop the clock, it really didn't take us that long to do that. I know that there was some jumping around and some forethought that needs to go into creating those ad lines, but it's a very straightforward and simple process. But now we need to give Facebook 3 to 5 days to really figure out what's going on, to really optimize our traffic and hone in on those people most likely to take the actions we've indicated that we want them to take, which in this case is to sign up to our mailing list. So let's take a look at the actual campaign that I ran. It was about a month ago, and it's this one down here, subs 1024. I started on October 24th, and we're going to tick that box. So I used all the same settings as I did in the demo campaign that I just set up. So first we'll look at the ad sets. So I've got my 3 ad sets: Wild Horses, Elvis Costello, and E Street Band. Only difference was my budget was a bit smaller. I was initially spending just $10 per ad set, again, because I had slightly smaller audiences with these two. But we come over here and we want to look at the cost per result column. So you can see the Wild Horses audience was $10.63 per subscriber, way too expensive. The E Street Band was $5.36, also too expensive. It was the Elvis Costello ad set that was getting me the best prices per subscriber, so $3.71. Still too expensive, and I'll show you how I brought that way down in a moment. But this is our winner, so we've got something to work with, and you can see here that I shut these two down pretty quickly because this was the clear winner right out of the gate, and I bumped the budget just a little bit as well, pretty quickly into it, just to get as many subscribers as I could, as quickly as I could. Now let's tick the winning ad set. Come on over to the ads level. We've got our dynamic creative ad there. We're going to come on over to this column that says breakdown, and we're going to go by, we're going to select by dynamic creative asset. And in here we have all of our different options. You're going to select images first, and here are all of our images. And we're going to again come over here to the cost per result column, and you can see that the results vary quite a lot, from $3.23 per subscriber all the way up to $9.65 per subscriber, based on nothing but the image, which is kind of huge. It shows you just how much of an impact our choices can make on our ads. Now we want to select the winner, which in this case is the one with the 2 guys in the band walking through the city. We saw it earlier. You just want to make sure that your cheapest ad is also one that got a decent amount of impressions. If it's one of these here, like where you got 1 result and the others got 25 and 14, but for some reason it happens to be cheaper, that still indicates that Facebook early on in the campaign decided it was an under underperformer. And despite the low price there, that's not the one you want. You want one that got a decent amount of reach and decent amount of impressions and got you the cheapest results. So we're going to go and either make mental note of the fact that this is our winner, or write it down on a list, 2 guys walking through city, so I know what it is. And then we're going to come back here and we're going to go through each one of the relevant options. So we click on text, and we can see here, if we look at the ad prices. See, here's an example of what I was talking about. It's $1.30. Looks great. However, it got hardly any reach, and so we need to ignore that. We're looking for the ones that got a decent amount of reach but are also cheap. So this one up here was $3.55, got us 27 subscribers. Let's take a look at which one it was. It is the line, "Elm trees are more than a band. They're a rock and roll brotherhood, here to remind you to never underestimate the power of the acoustic guitar." So that is the line that performed best. We're going to make mental note of that, or again, copy it onto another piece of paper. And we're going to keep going and take a look at headlines. Our winner, our clear winner up here at $3.43 per subscriber was just Elm Trees and free download. And I think I mentioned before that tends to do best, but it's a good idea to test everything anyway. Then we're going to look at link descriptions. And again, we've got a pretty clear winner down here at $3.46 compared to our most expensive at $6.63. And it was just hailing from Staten Island, New York. Elm Treason is the musical union of Andy Roman and Bobby Steele. And if we just move that back and take a quick look at the call to action button, we've got, where is our cheapest one? So this one here, the clear winner, and it was the download button. So we make a list of all of those elements so we know which ones perform best. Write them down, do what you need to so you don't forget. Then we're going to quickly come over here and we're going to clear all breakdowns, and we're going to look at, we're going to run a report by delivery. So we open up that option and start going through each of these options. So age, who performed best? Let's see, we look at price. It was, in this case, it was 65 plus, but we don't want to just limit our marketing to people over the age of 65. You can see we got much better reach and even more subscribers over 55. This audience is also appealing the 25 to 34-year-old audience. We got some pretty cheap subscribers, but there still is an indication that Facebook didn't love this audience because the reach was so low. So in a situation like this, we may not change our age demographic. What I ultimately decided to do was go with these ones here, the 55 and up category, because that's where you got the most reach and the best prices. And then if we come on over here and we look at gender, in this case, men were the overwhelming favorite at $3.80 versus $5.44. So we know men are much cheaper. We're going to make a list of that. And then we take a look at country. I went to 3 countries with these guys, so I added the United Kingdom to their campaign, and we had the cheapest subscribers in Canada, and just behind that was United States. So I would remove the United Kingdom from my future advertising. And we go through here, we can look at things like placement, and let's see. Facebook desktop and mobile got some traction, and if we scroll down, that's literally it. All of our subscribers came from Facebook, so that would tell me to turn off everything else, all those other options, in the next ad campaign. Now you can spend a little more time going through some of these other options, but that's really where I focus. Those are the big ones. I take my list of winning elements and winning demographic options, I come back on over here to campaigns. And actually, I need to clear my breakdowns. And what I'm going to do is untick that. And the next step, I won't walk you through it because the process is the same, but I go through every step that I just took you through, except I do not use dynamic creative. So when I create the next ad, I'm not selecting 5 images and writing 5 lines of text and selecting 5 call to action buttons. I'm just using my winning elements. And when it comes to targeting, I change my targeting. So when we go to placements, I turn off every option except Facebook. When I go to age, I set it in this example 55 and up. When I go to countries, I stick with just Canada and America, and so forth. And that is exactly what I did here. You can see here that I ran all those elements, and the price came down a lot. It took it down to $2.97, but it's still more than I ultimately want to pay for a subscriber. If you tick here and we look at the ad set, you can see that I went after some different targeting options. I tried Elvis Costello again, added some other options. This time I went for Bruce Springsteen. I added Tedeschi Trucks Band. This one did pretty good. It was the cheapest of the three, $2.56. So I did the same thing. I set up a new campaign only targeting Tedeschi Trucks fans and applying any new demographic insight I got after running a report. And that brought me to our third campaign, which brought it down even more to $2.73. Again, the squeeze page was doing well, but it was still too expensive, so that told me that targeting might very well be the issue. So I created a brand new campaign using 3 new targeting options with all of the same winning creative elements. If we tick on that and take a look at those, you can see here that I tried Tom Petty, Paul Simon, and Eric Clapton. And if we scroll over here, those prices range from $154 to $179, with Paul Simon looking to be the best performing ad set so far. Makes sense. We have an emphasis on acoustic music. They played acoustic music. Tom Petty's right behind it. And even though these prices, they're not totally there yet, they're getting pretty close. And keep in mind, the first few days of an ad, prices are usually a bit higher. If we look at just the last 7 days, what does it do? So it brings it down a little bit more, so $146 per subscriber. And that's pretty close. We can profit off of that if the sales conversion rate comes in where we need it to be, and if this band runs enough promotions over the next year to ultimately make sure that their subscriber value is more than $1.46, which if you're running occasional promotions and out there making music and engaging with your fans, you should really have no problem with at all. So again, I just brushed over a really complicated subject. I crammed a lot into a relatively short video, all things considered. As you know, I've got Music Ads Workshop coming out. I didn't want this to be hey, I'm going to teach you a little bit, but no, you're not going to be able to use any of it unless you buy my course. I wanted to give you something that was a complete, actionable strategy, and I feel that I've done that. You can sit down right now, follow all the steps, and you can be on your way. Having said that, there's a lot more to learn. There are many different strategies. There are many reasons why we took each of the steps that we ultimately took. And these are the kinds of things that I ultimately teach in the Music Ads Workshop. I not only walk you through the very process you just learned here in a lot more detail, but I teach you all kinds of other Facebook advertising strategies, such as retargeting to make sure all these new subscribers continue to engage with your content, such as video advertising, such as promoting your posts, your blog posts, to make sure that they get seen, and having a strategy in place to make sure that you're spending your advertising budget wisely, such as the do's and don'ts of promoting your page to get more followers. And the list goes on. If you're interested, if this has made a light bulb go off for you, if you're starting to see like, wow, I get it. I see how I can use Facebook advertising to promote my music, so I don't necessarily need to dedicate the rest of my life to being on the road, to going out and attracting people to my music, or spending tens of thousands of dollars on radio, which more often than not is a great way to lose money, then I'd love you to consider signing up for the Music Ads Workshop 3.0. Once again, you should see a link somewhere further down on this page below the video, depending on where you're watching it, so somewhere here on the page. So you'll find more information there on the page. Again, thank you so much for watching this. I'm sure you have questions about what you learned in this lesson. If you do, please leave them below in the comments, and I'll come through and do my best to answer everything. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys in the Music Ads Workshop 3.0 members area. Take care.